If you want to start getting more replies to your cold emails, if you want your emails to stop landing in spam, and if you want your cold email campaigns to consistently drive leads and revenue without deliverability issues, this video is for you. My name is Atishay Jain. I run a cold email agency called Hyperke. I've been sending cold email for the last 6 years, and I was awarded this plaque by Smartly for being among the top 1% of their 87,000 users because I know how to get replies. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 14 lessons that I've learned in over half a decade of trial and error from sending more than 20 million cold emails that have booked tens of thousands of appointments and generated more than $11 million in confirmed revenue attributed to cold email as a channel. And stick around till the end because I also have a free guide that I'm going to give to you. So let's get into it. Lesson number 1. At scale, copy fatigue is the number one cause of bad reply rates. Now, when I talk about copy fatigue, people think it's bad copywriting. It is not. ESPs, they don't penalize an email with bad copy, they penalize an email's fingerprint, which means if you're using an email that you've sent in the past tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of times in the past, chances are that the ESPs have fingerprinted that email. And if that email was marked as spam by users in the past, an email with a similar fingerprint will now be marked as spam even if you're sending that to someone for the first time. Therefore, if you want to send emails at scale, you need to be able to create emails that have a different fingerprint from the emails that were sent previously. And in order to do this, we first need to understand exactly what the ESPs look at and how they fingerprint emails. So an email's structural signature is made up of a few things: sentence patterns, phrasing, opening lines, the call to action structure, and the name of the sender, the signature format, and company identification information. So when you send the same email template tens of thousands of times, the ESPs start recognizing that these are all the same emails coming from the same company. And if these emails were reported as spam in the past, the algorithm is going to automatically mark them as spam with a warning that looks like this. In order to fix this, you need to change the structure of your email so that each email's fingerprint is different. And you do this by varying your sentence lengths, by changing the order of your paragraphs, by changing how you phrase your offer, and by sending emails using generic senders, ensuring that the emails that you send look as different as possible from each other while still representing the same offer angle and other winning variables. I'll give you an example. We scaled the campaign from about 102,000 sends a month to 255,000 with the exact same copy, and ICP did not change anything. And reply rates went from over 3% to 1.7%. And this happened only because we did not change the copy, which means our winning copy was fingerprinted, and that led to a drop in deliverability. Now, the question a lot of people ask is, how exactly do you keep creating unique structural variations of your email? And the short answer to this is you can't possibly do this manually, which is why you have AI do it for you. So we use a short prompt that allows us to generate structural variations of any email. It's included in the field guide. So if you go to the description of this video, click the second link and download the cold email deliverability guide, you will get a prompt that allows you to generate emails with significantly different fingerprints. Lesson number 2, your subject lines need to be varied aggressively. So in line with what we were talking about copy fingerprinting, your subject lines are the most fingerprintable part of your email because they are the ones that repeated the most often, right? One subject line that's sent across 10,000 emails is probably the easiest way to get filtered. In order to fix this, we lean on AI again. So you ask AI to give you subject lines that are at most 3 words in length, that are vague, that look like internal emails that people might send to their colleagues, that do not use spam trigger words like free or guarantee or urgent, and you create a pool of at least 10 subject line variations for each email variant. You can even use the company name as the subject line. So just the company name and nothing else. And even that subject line works because each prospect would have a different company name. Now, the reason this matters more than the body is because the subject line is typically repeated more often than the body, and the subject line is only 2 or 3 words, which means it's easier to fingerprint. Lesson number 3, always randomize sender names if you are going to send more than 100,000 emails a month. Now, this does not apply if you're sending lower volumes, but when you start to send high volumes, and if you use the same name for all of those emails, the signature and the sender name itself gets you fingerprinted. Because imagine a person called John Doe sending 100,000 emails a day. Obviously, if it's the same person sending similar sounding emails, it is going to raise a red flag. This is why you can generate AI avatars and use generic names for your outreach. This brings me to lesson number 4, which is your signatures. So now you're using generic names, which means the name you use in the signature is going to be unique. But that becomes irrelevant if you start adding your company's website to the signature or your LinkedIn URL. Again, it's just a static value, right? So not only does the link in the signature hurt deliverability because it is a link, which spam filters hate, by the way, but it also hurts deliverability because it's a static website. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just type companyname.com and I will not hyperlink it. Well, that doesn't work either because Gmail and Outlook will automatically detect a URL and it will auto link that URL. So just strip the .com entirely. If you want, use your brand name as a word and create multiple variations of your brand name. I also recommend that you spin tax multiple titles, and if you are going to use generic sending identities, then each of them can have a variety of different titles. All in all, your signatures should be minimal. They should be all text. It should just be the person's name, their title, and a variant of your company's name. No links, no phone numbers, no addresses. This is how you keep your signatures unique and protect yourself from email fingerprinting because of your signature. Lesson number 5, choosing the right domain names and TLDs. This one's easy. Just take it as a rule. When you're purchasing secondary domains for outreach, avoid domains with numbers, avoid domains with hyphens, avoid prefixes like get or try. As much as possible, try to get generic, brandable single word names. And these names don't even have to exist. It doesn't have to be a real word. It just has to be easy to say. If you're going to send anything between 1 to 10,000 emails per day, you are okay purchasing domains branded to your company's name. But if you're sending 10,000 or more every single day, I encourage you to purchase generic domains because at scale, your company's name in the domain can also be used by pattern detection algorithms to fingerprint your outreach. When it comes to the domain extensions or the TLDs to purchase, I recommend going with .coms, .infos, .cos, and .net. Everything else, avoid it. It's either too expensive or it's too spammy. Quick side note before lesson number 6, everything we've covered here, plus a lot more, is included in the deliverability guide that's linked in the second link in the description. Go ahead, download the guide, share it with your team, use it to optimize your deliverability. It's 100% free. Lesson number 6, spread your domains across multiple DNS registrar accounts. And this is more so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket rather than for deliverability, because I've heard stories of people that lost 6,000 domains overnight because Cloudflare decided to ban their account. So don't put yourself in a position like that. Just create multiple different accounts with your registrar of choice and distribute your domains across all of those accounts. The same thing also applies to mailboxes. If you're using Google mailboxes, use one domain per admin panel and set up multiple admin panels, each admin panel housing between 2 to 5 inboxes. Lesson number 7, email warm-up is prevention and not cure. So a lot of people think that if their email accounts burn, which means their reply rates go down and deliverability is suffering, they can keep warming those email accounts up and recover the deliverability. That rarely works. Warmup is great for brand new inboxes. Start with their reputation at 0, and warmup allows you to build positive reputation. But if a domain is already known for spamming, which means its reputation is in the negative, warming up alone is not going to rescue that inbox. You should always be warming up all your domains, but if a domain is burned, the best thing to do is just let go of that domain, move on, and replace it with inboxes created on a fresh domain. On the topic of warmup, I recommend a 1:1 or 1:1.5 ratio for Google inboxes between cold and warm emails. So if you're sending 20 cold emails per day, you should be sending 20 to 30 warm-up emails per day. For Azure accounts, because there are so many vendors selling those, stick to the guidelines that your vendor shared with you. For SMTP, a 1:3 to 1:5 ratio is ideal, which means if you're sending 20 cold per day, you should be sending 60 to 100 warm-up emails every single day. Lesson number 8, when targeting enterprise accounts, avoid using Google senders. Now, this is counterintuitive because if you know anything about me, I'm a huge fan of using Google inboxes because they are just so versatile and they work the most reliably out of all of the sending infrastructure providers. But when you're targeting enterprise, a lot of these enterprise companies use secure email gateways, which is tools like Barracuda, Mimecast, and Proofpoint. Now, these tools, they often screen emails based on their internal blacklists. So if your goal is to try and get into as many enterprise accounts as possible, you should lean towards using Microsoft Outlook and SMTP accounts and still keep Google in the mix, but the proportions should be adjusted accordingly. Lesson number 9, if you're sending emails to personal email domains, which is Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, Yahoo, iCloud, Rediff Mail, all of those personal email addresses, and let's say you're scraping Google Maps or Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or one of these channels where people often list their personal email address for contact, fact, it is a good idea to email these personal email addresses because they don't get as much email and you will get positive responses from these. But at the same time, the domains that you use to do outreach to personal email addresses, they will burn quicker than the domains that you're using to reach out to business emails. And that's just an observation we've had over the years. This is probably because personal inboxes are protected with stricter algorithms and rules by the ESPs, but that doesn't mean you can't reach out to personal domains. Lesson number 10, redirects will actually hurt you at scale. So the standard practice with cold email is buying a bunch of secondary domains and redirecting them to your main website or your client's website. And this continues to work. But if you're trying to send more than 50,000 emails per day for a single offer, that means you are sending emails from thousands of domains, all redirecting to the same website. Now, in some cases, we've seen this become a problem because even though everything else might be different, just the fact that a lot of the emails that are being flagged as spam are all redirecting to the same website can lead to the AI pattern detection algorithms identifying this as a pattern and blacklisting you. So if you're sending 50,000 per day or more, you are better off just not adding any redirects to your domain and letting your email do all of the talking. So let the email explain what you do, why you do it, and don't bother adding a redirect to your domain. Lesson number 11, and this is an obvious one. I've said this a million times. Please, for the love of God, stop tracking open rates. There's absolutely no benefit that comes out of tracking open rates, because when you're tracking opens, you're introducing a pixel in your email. That pixel is HTML content. Both of these things, flagged spam triggers, get your email sent to spam. Even if your email does not go to spam, ever since iOS 14 released, open tracking is not accurate. Apple Mail and many other email providers, they open all the emails that are sent automatically and they click the link in the pixel. So you will actually be tracking more opens than the real number of opens, which means even though you are risking your deliverability by tracking opens in an email, the data that you're getting back is not even accurate. So it's absolutely not worth doing. Just don't track opens. Use reply rates as your only indication. Lesson number 12, replace bad domains. Don't try to recover them. Email deliverability is always an attribute of the domain's health because it's always a function of the domain's health. So if one inbox on a domain has poor reply rates, or if one inbox is sending emails to spam, it is only a matter of time, usually a few days to a week, where the other inbox will also start seeing poor reply rates. Therefore, the best thing to do is just measure reply rates on the domain level. And once you recognize that a domain is consistently performing below your baseline, delete the inboxes on that domain, replace it with fresh domains, fresh inboxes, and move on. There's no point trying to recover a burned domain. Lesson number 13, monitor reply rates by domain week over week and flag any sudden drops in reply rates, as well as more than 25% movement from your baseline in terms of week over week reply rates. If either of those things happen, that is a clear indication that a domain is facing issues and is likely going to send emails to spam. When you notice something like this, start being proactive, analyze your copy, see if it's a copy fingerprinting issue or an infrastructure issue, and take steps accordingly. Here's an example that we had recently. If reply rate drops 25% or more below the week over week baseline with the same ICP and the same copy, we are going to pause the campaign, rotate the copy immediately. I know you might be tempted to give it a few more days, give it another week, and wait and see how things go. But the downside to just making changes proactively and either changing the copy or replacing the domain is very little. But the downside of waiting too long is a loss of time and also a loss of the domain. Lesson number 14, diagnose copy versus infrastructure before you decide what to fix. So when your reply rates go down, there are two possible causes. It's either that your copy has been fingerprinted or your infrastructure has degraded. We use two heuristics to guide us and to figure out which is which. Heuristic one is inbox age. So if your inboxes are less than a week old and they still have bad reply rates, that just means that it is your copy fault because a fresh inbox starts clean and the only variable that isn't fresh is the copy. If your inboxes are 2 to 3 months old and reply rates have gone down over time, that is likely an infrastructure problem caused by people reporting you as spam over the last 2 or 3 months. The second heuristic is comparing in cohorts. So if your reply rates are down uniformly across all your inboxes and domains, that is likely caused by your copy. But if the reply rates are down only on some domains while others stay healthy, that is a clear indication that it is just those domains which are underperforming, which need to be replaced. Now, in most cases, you'll see both of the heuristics will agree and point to either copy or infrastructure. In case they disagree, I start by replacing the copy first because buying new domains is expensive and it takes time. So there you have it, 14 lessons from managing deliverability over half a decade. I know it was a bit technical, but I'm just going to do a quick recap. You have copy fatigue, subject line variation, sender name randomization, signature hygiene, domain naming, registrar diversification, Warmup, enterprise routing, personal email domains, redirects at scale, stop tracking opens, replacing bad domains, monitoring domains week over week, and the diagnosis that tells you whether to fix copy or the infrastructure. Take these 14 lessons, implement them, and you will start to see a much more consistent reply rate and much better deliverability at scale. And if you want our team to implement all 14 of these lessons for you and build you an outbound system that consistently lands in the inbox and gets you leads that turn into revenue, go to the first link in the description, hyperke.com/chat, book a call with our team, and I'll see you in the next one.